Hi everyone, I'll be presenting for smartphones as a defining technology of the decade. So, a smartphone is a cellular telephone that integrates traditional mobile phone capabilities such as voice communications and instant messaging with an operating system and more advanced hardware. A typical smartphone is a multi-use device that allows users to browse the internet, manage email, take photographs and videos, stream media, as well as download and run a myriad of software applications. These phones also allow users to store data and access the internet while on the go. First, I'll start off with the basic cell phones. These basic cell phones had short message services, SMS, multimedia message services, MMS, and rarely accessed features such as web browsing, instant messaging capabilities, and access to one's email. The first cellular phone ever released was the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, which was released in 1983. This cellular device offered users 30 minutes of talk time, 6 hours of standby, and could store about 30 phone numbers. The cost of the Motorola Dynatac was a whopping $3,995. These devices were definitely not created with consumers in mind, but instead targeted towards businessmen, politicians, and all the other wealthy tastemakers. So in 1989, Motorola Microtek was introduced, and it was the first of many flip phone designs. This was the world's first pocket-sized phone. In 1992, the Motorola International 3200 was released, and was the first hand-sized digital mobile phone that could use 2G digitally encrypted technology. This 2G technology allowed for the transfer of data in a way that only the sender and receiver could read the message. In 1998, the Nokia 8810 was released, and was the first cellular phone without an external antenna whip or stub antenna, which is thought to have paved the way for even more technologically advanced devices. This phone also had a sliding keypad cover, which made the device more appealing to the eye. In 1999, the Nokia 3210 was released and was the first to allow picture messages, but only pre-installed ones, such as Happy Birthday, and it was the first cell phone to be marketed towards young people. In 1999, the Nokia 7110 was released and was the first cellular device to incorporate wireless application protocol. This innovation gave mobile users the ability for web access on simple devices, although it was mostly a text version. And although it was mostly a text version, it was a revolutionary step toward mobile internet access on cellular devices. In 1999, the Benafone S was released, and was the first mobile phone and GPS navigator integrated in one product. This device was also splash-proof, grayscale, and had the ability to load maps to trace position and movement. Innovation after innovation. In 2000, Samsung released the SPH M100 Uproar, which was the first to have MP3 music capabilities. And in 2000 as well, Sprint released the Sanyo 5300, which was the first camera phone sold in North America. In 2002, BlackBerry released the BlackBerry 5810. This was the first BlackBerry device to incorporate a mobile phone into their brand of data-only devices. The BlackBerry was appealing to professionals who needed immediate access to their emails and schedules, but did not want to carry both a cell phone and a PDA. The downside to the 5810 was that there was no speaker or microphone, so a handset had to be plugged in to speak. In 2004, the Motorola Razr was released, and it was originally marketed as a fashion phone. Motorola sold more than 50 million units by mid-2006. In 2005, the Motorola Razr E1 was released, and was the first to have Apple's iTunes Music player incorporated into it, although it could only manage 100 songs at a time, which was substantially less than what MP3 players like the iPod can hold. An era of smartphones begins. In 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the Apple iPhone, a touchscreen smartphone with a great user interface that adapted 3G technology. This 3G technology allowed mobile operators to offer more service options to users, such as mobile broadband and greater flexibility in service, by making more efficient use of mobile bandwidth than 2G networks have ever offered. This iPhone could call, text, email, access the web easily, and contain native apps and more. After the iPhone, in 2008, the HTC Dream was released, and it was the first smartphone to run the Linux-based Android operating system, and was later purchased and further developed by Google. In 2010, Samsung released the Galaxy S, the first Samsung smartphone powered by Google's Android operating system with a 4-inch display and a 5-megapixel camera. In 2011, the Motorola Razr was released, and was the thinnest smartphone in the world at only 7.1 millimeters. A little bit about Apple, the founder of the iPhone. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne in 1976. They have over 115,000 employees worldwide. It is the world's largest information technology company based on revenue. AT&T was the first major carrier to offer the iPhone, and Apple has sold more than 750 million iPhones. Experts predict that 71.6% of Americans will own an iPhone by 2018. Now a little bit about Samsung. Samsung was founded in 1938 by Lee Byung-chul, who started out selling life insurance and textiles. Since 1999, the Samsung mobile device division has grown into the company's most profitable business. Samsung announced the first cell phone to have MP3 capabilities. The Galaxy line of devices is the best-selling device in the world, and the Retina display used in several of Apple's devices are manufactured by Samsung. A little bit about Samsung and Apple. So in 2012, Samsung was ordered to pay Apple $1 billion on charges of infringing its patents. These two companies rake in over $330 billion annually combined. They are the top two brands based on smartphones produced and account for 66% of all smartphones. So the first ever smartphone. It might be hard to believe that the first ever smartphone was released on August 16, 1994 by IBM. This phone had a touchscreen, calendar, address book, clock, calculator, notepad, games, email capability, and software applications, and sold for $899. The origins of smartphone apps. Early cell phones offered basic software suites that included calendars, alarm clocks, and note-taking functionality. In the late 90s, phones like the Nokia 6110 came with basic games like Snake, which played a big role in popularizing cell phones. Users could download and purchase new games, wallpapers, ringtones, and more from their cell phone carriers, but there were no universal stores such as the App Store or Google Play Store. Apple launched the first universal App Store in 2008. The store launched with 500 apps and games, a paltry number by today's standards but huge back in 2008. iPhone users now had access to the same apps and games, no matter where they lived or which cell phone carrier they subscribed to. Before the App Store, each network provider and/or phone maker had its own portal to buy games and apps. Developers worked with third-party publishers in order to get their software released on various portals, which often took months. Profit margins ended up being low, and as a result, many developers showed little interest in mobile software. For developers, the App Store was a game changer because it made publishing software faster and less expensive. For users, apps were now mainstream and coveted. There was no more confusion of how and where to download apps. The Apple Store now has well over 1 million apps, and the average user downloads as many as 100 per year. Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Phone all launched their own competing app store in the following months and years. Apps are synonymous with smartphones because they greatly extended the phone's utility and appeal. Apps are a major purchasing factor for today's consumer. If a phone doesn't have apps like Snapchat or Instagram, many people will choose not to buy it. Now we'll discuss social changes of smartphones. The increases in mobile technology and software support the shift toward mobile usage of the Internet. This fairly new way of interacting with the Internet affirmed itself as the new standard when performing daily functions. Mobile capabilities now allow individuals to download applications to their personal smartphone, bank online by depositing checks, receiving money, sending money, interacting with peers and social circles through social networking apps, and finding and purchasing products specific to their needs and taste. Smartphone capabilities now allow individuals to network and communicate with a plethora of their acquaintances, colleagues, and family members. Through the choice of sharing user-generated content, their taste in certain products and services, and news, smartphones could work as tools of communication and place the power in the user's hands. So many people use their smartphones to access Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. An estimated 2/3 of Americans own smartphones, with 19% of them relying on it to access the Internet. As of the first quarter of 2016, Facebook had 1.65 billion monthly users, roughly 1/7 of the Earth's population. Smartphone users interact with their environment by being able to instantly share it with others. Instagram has a total of 400 million monthly active users. There have been 20 billion photos uploaded to the application since its creation. With smartphones, marketing and advertising evolves from the consumer as the passive participant to a leveled interactive exchange between advertiser and consumer. Consumers can now share their experiences with a product or service, generating positive or negative reinforcement, create awareness about a certain product or service, become aware of certain products or services, and influence the purchase decisions of others. The creation of smartphones has emphasized the capabilities and possibilities of mobile technology. Creating more user-specific programs and forms of interaction, individuals now have a more personalized experience and form of conducting business, communicating with others, and receiving and processing the world around them. Smartphones and mobile technology allow businesses to learn of specific characteristics with their target market. Businesses can collect data about consumers and tailor individualized advertising through smartphones. Consumer rights are highlighted with the choice of opting in or opting out. Advertising now just becomes more interactive and personalized, and consumers must choose which media engages them amongst the load of media they interact with daily. Now we'll talk about the positive and negative effects of smartphones. So smartphones are good for business. Businesses can expand by creating mobile apps for smartphones. These consumers of these businesses can purchase products from the company faster, and it's easier to use an app than to use the computer. An example is a Sephora mobile app where you could shop on this app, have your credit card information saved, scan your credit card instead of inputting it manually. Smartphones ensure quicker customer communication. You receive messages instantly through email and instant messaging. Smartphones provide an efficient workplace. Smartphones can be used to make meetings, plan events, and make daily tasks easier. People use smartphones to stay connected with friends and family through social media. It's easier and faster to use social media mobile apps on the smartphone than using a computer. Businesses can use social media apps to gain new customers. Businesses can prompt their consumers to like their page or share their page so more people become aware of it. Smartphones in the classroom. Smartphones could be helpful for students in the classroom. A 2012 study was conducted to determine students' thoughts on smartphones in the classroom. They found that smartphones helped with learning, encouraged enjoyment of the class, improved success in the course, and an increase in attendance, and were not a distraction, as many believe it is. A negative effect is that some people become addicted to smartphones. It's easy for people to become addicted to their smartphones because they rely on it daily, especially students and young adults. A survey conducted to evaluate students' dependency on smartphones showed results that most students rely heavily on their smartphones and feel separated when it is not near them, they lose connection, or their battery dies. Smartphones, the defining technology of the decade. Smartphones have made everyday life tasks more simple. The many improvements made to smartphones, including mobile apps, cloud computing, and high-speed networks, have had positive impacts on the smartphone-reliant world. There are more advantages than disadvantages when investing in a smartphone. Thank you so much for listening.